Anirudh, why do you believe that switching careers is an option that people need to look at seriously?
Okay, I guess historically, at least for me personally, in my experience, I have gone through a number of careers and number of projects, and each career and project, I have learned something new,
Okay,
and it is that for me personally, I have always enjoyed um experiencing life holistically. So
okay,
with every career move, every different new job that I have taken up, for many reasons I have done that, and I think it
right,
started really from my college days when I was
okay,
trying to actually support myself through college and put food on the table as well as pay my fees and everything. I had to take up a bunch of different jobs, and that has given me a sense of different skills. I've been able to gather some, different skills. I've been able to try my hand out at multiple different areas of and professions, and because of which I feel I have had a very multi-dimensional
right,
perspective and approach to life and its various mysteries and questions. So I have enjoyed it, and I feel that moving forward, if you look at it, for the next generation, for Gen Z, Gen Alpha, whatever you,
right,
however you describe the next generation, um, if you see, there is there's the frequency of disruption has increased,
right,
right? You have more disruption that's coming in with technology, and the speed of disruption is faster. So you
right,
kind of have to quickly change gears and reinvent yourself, and look at other options and opportunities as you're building your career through life, and at the same time trying to figure out how you can actually be a contributor to society, right?
right.
So you have to gather the skill, you have to learn it, you have to become good at it, and you have to actually deliver.
Okay,
So I feel that this is that is how it's going to play out in the long run for the next generation. I have been
right,
lucky. I feel I have been lucky uh,
right,
in, being able to experience such a diverse set of
right.
jobs, careers myself, that I would not mind wishing it upon somebody else. Uh, because I feel that has given me a very rich life. I feel that is something that people should take away.
Okay. Welcome. Today we are speaking to Anirudh Pandya, who has worked for over 25 years, switching between IT services, the US government, um, property insurance, health insurance, and telecommunications sector. So it's not as if he's a stranger to switching jobs. He manages multiple careers in different businesses like parallel threads. It requires a deep understanding of how business models are created and where you can personally add value and where you can delegate. The idea is not to stick with one career all your life, it's to anticipate where the world is moving, reskill, relearn, and keep experimenting. So let me welcome Anirudh and get to know about where these skills accumulated, first out of compulsion and then possibly because he understood that these changes are, part of the game. So let's go into what was the first switch you made. Which was the first job you got when you looked at when you went to the US? I think that's where it started, right? You were looking at multiple
Yeah.
uh,
So first,
jobs to.
thank you for having me on this podcast, Venu. I know
Always a pleasure, Anirudh.
we've been trying for a long time, and
Long time.
you know,
Yeah,
uh, we finally got around to it.
right.
So thank you for having me on the podcast.
Great.
Uh,
My
and
pleasure.
yeah, and coming to your question, I mean, I think so. It was not I did not start taking up jobs when I was going after going to the US, but before going to the US. To go
Okay.
to the US, I had to take up a job
Okay.
so that I could pay for the SATs and the achievements. And I went
Right.
as an undergrad. So my dad was a banker, and so obviously was not making much money in the 80s. So I actually and the application fees in those days was like $200, and the SATs would cost a lot of money and all in dollars, and getting dollars
Yes.
was almost impossible during
Yes.
those years. So I actually my first job was that of a salesman,
Okay.
and I had to demo washing machines. So I would go door to door in Chennai and knock on the doors and ask them if they wanted to demo a washing machine.
Okay.
And then I would set up a time over the weekend, arrange for a truck, put the Videocon washing machine on the truck,
Right.
and take it, for demos over the weekend. So that was my first job. And if there was a sale, I got a bonus out of it, right?
Okay.
So that was my first job. And that was the summer of when I was, I think, 18 years old. I took a gap year, actually. Uh,
Right.
and in those days, it was fairly hard to get into the engineering colleges and stuff. So I had
Right.
taken a year to prepare for the engineering colleges. But then this whole thing idea of going to the US comes along. So I
Right.
started with that job, and that was my first job. And that job was out of compulsion, as you rightly said, because I had to pay for the fees. And that job taught me to be adventurous. That was my
Okay.
first lesson, right? It
Right.
taught me to be adventurous. That first job taught me to be flexible. It taught me how to manage money. So that first job was remarkable because not because of the boss, it also taught me how to pick my partner in crime.
Okay.
Right? So it was a remarkable job. It was, in hindsight, you get to revisit the nostalgia and draw out the learnings. But that was my first job, and that was in India, actually.
Right.
I actually looked up for this job in the newspaper, and I had to convince them that I was right for it, because getting a job at that time was hard.
Was
Uh,
hard. How many
How many
universities did you apply to?
I applied to probably about 4 or 5 universities, of which I
Okay.
got access to two.
Okay.
And then I ended up picking up the one that gave me the most amount of money.
Right.
Uh, and I had the most support in terms of, talking with the admissions and people on the ground over there. So I had a good comfort level with them, and so I decided on the University of Rochester in Rochester, New York. It was
Okay.
the most expensive place to go to, and it still
Right.
remains the most expensive place to go to. But I chose that school because it gave me the the most scholarship.
And what is the first job that you landed in the US when you got there? Did you work at a store? Did
Uh,
you do something else?
no, no, it was hard. The first job was that of a dishwasher.
Oh, okay.
I actually washed dishes. So that was my
Right.
first job in the college. Now, if you're
Okay.
asking about after college, my first job was a much better job, but that was also a very hard job.
Okay.
So out of college, I my first job was with AT&T,
Okay.
AT&T Wireless at that time,
Right.
and that was sometime in '96.
Okay.
So yeah, so yeah, close to 30 years now. But that was a telecom sector. I had no background in telecom, but I had to learn on the job, and I remember the name of that employer.
Okay.
Uh, and my boss was Neil Ostroff, and that guy was a technical guy. He was a proper technical engineer, and I learned a lot about communication systems and switches from him. Um, and I that was a hard job, and my takeaway on that job was be prepared for hard shit. I'm sorry, but gotta work hard if you want to break in. And that
Yeah.
was one of the hardest jobs that.
But were you selling to companies? Were you selling to individuals? What was it like? What was the
No, no,
job?
it was a programming job. It was a
Oh,
computer.
okay. Okay.
Yeah, it was a purely technical computer programming job.
And you
It
had
had,
no background in
it had
programming at all.
nothing to do with sales. And I took up so many jobs in college that got me to programming to a level in which I did not need a degree for programming. In
Okay.
fact, I became pretty good at programming, that the head of a department for chemical engineering. My degree is in chemical engineering and environmental sciences. It has nothing to do with programming. Nothing.
So,
Um,
what were some of the projects that you did in programming in a telecommunications company?
so my job was to build a web front end,
Okay.
to manage the to manage and monitor the call routing that was happening when
Okay.
a mobile call was made. So I
Okay.
had a whole bunch of equipment I had with me to test it out. And basically, it was a database backend app that I had to do, and it was something that, and I was the only guy on the team. It was
Right.
just me and my boss, and that's it.
Okay.
There was nobody else. And I
Okay.
remember spending weeks. I spent nights in the office, and subsequently the watchman over there, said, there's a room over here where you can go to
You can
sleep.
sleep. Yeah.
You just get a
Yeah.
sleeping bag and you can go and sleep there. And I would do that. I would keep a change of clothes for the next day. And that was a tough break. The first job was a tough break. Um,
I guess in all of these, when you're learning things from scratch, there is always this huge learning curve, which is often the reason why people don't switch jobs very easily because it
yeah,
means you literally have to start from the beginning. And that
yeah,
is a thing that deters a lot of people because if I don't know programming, then how am I going to learn? I'm not going to get the same kind of salary. I'm not going to get the same kind of
yeah.
perks that I'm used to. So I get into comfort zones and then I don't. So that I think is one of the biggest problems to overcome, right?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. For I think for me, that first job, I knew programming because I had worked with in college. I had worked with the U.S. Department of
Okay.
Energy, and I had built out sites with them. So I had access to a lot of the technology in college, which many programmers did not. So I was bringing something to the table.
Right.
What
And
I
that's the
was,
reason why you got the job in the first place.
yeah, I got the job. I got through
Yeah.
the interview because I was
Right.
fresh. I was fresh out of college,
Right.
and luck has a part.
Right.
There's
Right.
no doubt. Don't discount luck in your career. It's an
Yeah.
important part. Um,
Right.
Not all about talent always. There is also a component of luck which is very important. So I landed this job, but then luck had finished playing its part. And so then I had to get on with the program, and they were starting off with implementing Oracle and Oracle Web Services, and nobody else had done it in '96, right? So I had to do this by myself, and AT&T said, hey, call the support engineers in Redmond, and sorry, in Redwood, and in California. And I would call, and I would, talk to the person, try to solve the problem. He would stay up
Right.
late at night with me because he was building a product that he needed to be successful.
Okay.
Then and then there after at a couple of times they flew me over.
Okay.
They flew me over so that we could talk about the product and build the product in certain ways, and make changes. Um, uh, the nice thing about working in the US is that you have this amazing, uh, I think, trust
Right.
in, which is even new in the new in adopting new technologies,
Right.
which you don't really find that much in other parts of the world.
But you didn't have much of a social life, I presume, because of the amount of work that you had to do.
No, I think I did not at that point of time. I think I earned my social life after about 2 months. Once I had
Okay.
made the committed deliverable that I had to make. So, but for 2 months, I slogged it out, um, and then I got a glimpse of the social life for a short period of
But
time.
then what sustained you to that period of 2 months, 3 months? Because that is the darkest. It's almost like you're in a tunnel and you don't know exactly when you're going to see the light, because it's not as if you have a kind of predictive mechanism which says that, yeah, I'll lick this in the next 15 days or 3 weeks. And you discover that it just keeps stretching.
But Venu, I had already gone through 4 years of college and not
Okay.
gone back to India. I had already gone through, the trials period of
Right.
life in
So
which
the
I was,
Videocon washing machine experience
yeah,
helped.
all of those, I had already,
Yeah.
I had groomed I guess circumstances in life had already groomed me
Right.
to be able to endure 2 months. It's nothing. 2 months really was nothing. That is nothing compared to what I went through in college, right? So
Okay.
in college, I worked as a security guard. My shift time was 10 p.m. to 4 a.m.
Okay.
And then I had classes the next day morning at 9:30 a.m.
Okay.
So there was a season in which I was doing that. So these 2 months was, frankly, that first job was not as hard as I think I'm making it sound. The 4 years of college was much harder.
Right.
Uh,
Okay.
that was much harder.
Great. So, Anirudh, what I do is I do a summing up. So, I'll just sum up whatever we've discussed so far and then move into the next stage. Okay.
Sure.
So, I'm speaking to Anirudh Pandya, and we're talking about what it takes to switch jobs. Because a whole lot of people think that switching jobs is just about reskilling. But in terms of understanding what it takes, Anirudh said he started off in India by actually demonstrating how washing machines worked. He would fix appointments, then deliver or get the washing machine to houses of people, and then show them how the machine worked. and he had to convince the people that he got the job from that he was capable of doing it. And then this was to ensure that he had the money to apply to colleges abroad. So sometimes it's purely the drive, your inner drive, that helps you manage and get through phases like this. Of course, once he reached the US, it was another fresh set of challenges. And he said he started literally at the bottom. He started with a dishwashing job and then moved on to work in a telecommunications company where he was building, doing programming for a company that was working with AT&T. So understanding that, delivering on that, really toughened him through the first few phrases. In the next phase, I'm going to talk about what is it that helps you break out? How do you understand when it's time to move? And what are the things you should be looking for? If you've liked what you've listened to so far, please share, subscribe, and let more people know about the show. Because the idea here is to get more people to understand that careers are built one step at a time, whether you like it or not, and one day at a time. So, back to Anirudh. So, Anirudh, what was it that told you that, hey, this is the next thing that I need to be doing? Or were there things going through your mind saying, what should I be looking for?
Yeah, I think I had gone into a cruise control mode for almost 4 or 5 years
Okay.
after taking up this job with AT&T, primarily because I had now launched an application system with Oracle Web Services, which turned out to be one of the big tools like during those times. So everyone wanted me to come and work for them. So I had multiple careers up. I mean, multiple stints. After that, I got hired as a consultant in those days by at that time it was known as Anderson Consulting. But
Okay.
so uh,
So what you're saying is essentially you were in an area that was red hot
it
and
was
you
ready.
were in a field
Yes,
that
yes,
was
yes,
in great demand. So that's one
yes.
of the things. So if you're into a regular field where it's placid and it's a mature market, switching
Yeah.
is going to be all the more tougher, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And
Yeah.
I had to be adventurous and say yes to my first job and
Yes.
not stuck on the fact that, oh, I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
Do I really want to get
Yeah.
into it? Right.
Right.
I was open to it for, different reasons. Partly I was very curious. I think one of the thing that being adventurous, being curious, inquisitive about technology, inquisitive about way things work or industries, helps if you're trying to have multiple careers. You can't just zone in on one thing, laser focus. That also works for researchers, I guess, but that was not the case for me. That was not my
Okay.
personality. That was not me. So once I got into this red hot field, I worked with multiple institutions. I worked with telecom, the big US West. I worked with Quest. I worked with um, Citibank. I worked with Boeing. I worked with Merck as consultant, and all of these assignments were. Some of them were independent, some of them were with Anderson Consulting, because there weren't many engineers who were building apps using this technology.
Right.
Uh, and so for 4 or 5 years, I just ended up. I was on cruise control. I was just doing that. It became a lot easier after a point. It was not as hard because I was growing in my consulting almost as fast as the product was improving and the new features and functions were getting rolled out. So I had caught that product was my surfboard, and I had caught the wave of technology, and I was just cruising on that wave. And I did that for about 4 or 5 years. And then came the big change subsequently. But Uh, but yeah, that period was
That was a period. Okay.
cruise
But tell
control
me,
period.
in the initial bit, how important was the salary consideration? Because that tends to be one of the things that people are, saying that this is what I should be earning. But you had certain short-term goals in mind, and you adapted to saying, if I
Yeah,
get this, this is what I'm going to be putting it on. So, in a
yeah,
sense, you were being the entrepreneur.
very much. In fact,
Okay.
coming to the US to study in a US university without much money in my pocket was in itself a very entrepreneurial thing to do, because
Right.
I was taking up a massive amount of loan from India. In those days, loans were at 18%.
Yeah.
It was at 18%.
Wow.
Um, so I had taken $8,000 in loan, and I had gotten 5 years of time to not pay. Uh, but then after that, I had to pay. So I
Right.
worked through college, and interestingly enough, I worked so hard. I never came back to see my parents. I sacrificed a lot. Every summer, winter, I was working. I graduated out of college with only $12,000 as loans. So the
Okay.
first two,
So
yeah,
you
for
had
so
paid back the whole loan by then.
I had paid everything. I had paid
It
my
helps,
fee.
of course, that the US dollar is worth so much more than the Indian rupee. So,
Yes,
but
and
then that's a benefit which everyone
yeah,
who goes there had at that
I
point.
no,
Yeah.
and I was working through college, so I was earning money, and
So you
that
were
money,
earning.
yeah. So I was working close to 32 hours a week.
And it
Uh,
also meant that you were subconsciously learning the basics of management as to how to allocate time, resources, and skills. It's not as
exactly.
if,
Yeah.
and this is internal. I don't know if people understand that that part of it you can't learn from college. You have to learn
No,
yourself.
that is correct. They don't teach you in college how to manage
Yeah.
money, right?
Right.
And my first job, that sales job, taught me how to do that, right?
Okay.
I learned it the hard way, but I learned it
Okay.
at that point of time, and that paid off when I went to the US.
So,
Uh,
what are what is one of the first things that you learned about money? Something that has stood you in good stead to this day.
Always keep away money for the rainy day. 6 months of salary should always be there in the bank.
Yeah.
6 months of your current salary should always be there in the bank,
Okay.
just in case you have to make major switches.
Right.
Whether you do the investments, you don't do the investments. Investing obviously is a good thing, and I've been
So
doing
you
it for a
need to
long
build a nest egg as soon as you can,
time. As
and
soon as you
ensure
get
that
out of
that is
college.
what. So don't take risks on an empty bank balance. That's the other part.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right.
Um, and don't invest away that 6 months salary, because that 6 months
Right.
salary
Right.
really gives you the freedom to have integrity in
Right.
any job, right? It gives you that confidence to have integrity and stand behind your word and what you're saying. There
Right.
are times when you clash with your bosses, and there may be certain political situations, and so you should always
Right.
have that money aside, so that you have enough money to see you through to the next job.
Right.
So for me, that was a very big takeaway. But 6 months for me was a big thing. At that time, I could
Right.
not do that.
Yeah.
So
It's a lot of money because
I had to
it's not
manage with
small.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
had to manage with 1 or 2 months.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, college taught
But
me to
I think
hang
what
on.
you just said, it's more importantly, it creates a state of mind because one is that you are learning to take risks and you understand the amount of risk you can tolerate
Right,
because it becomes a certain, you understand what is it that you can put stake for yourself and maybe for a business,
Yeah.
which a whole lot of people who are working on a salary never do. So they never take a risk. To a large extent, the risk is only whether the company will go belly up or whether they lose the job. Otherwise, the function is usually about where will I spend the money and how can I invest it in places that I'm interested in. Whereas
Yeah.
this brings about a very different feel of how you should be building your career.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So,
I think budgeting
uh,
also was something I learned from my mom. My mom also
right,
taught me a bit of that. So that was the first time that I learned
right,
how to budget. So it was, it was an influence. It was a very indirect, subtle influence from parents. So, which served me well over time.
okay,
Um,
okay.
but yeah,
So, was there a point at which you were switching between companies and then you decided that you wanted to become an entrepreneur? Was there that transition as well?
I think the biggest transition after that was after 5 years of working in the US was to come back to India. Uh,
Was? Sorry.
was to come back to India.
Oh,
Uh,
okay, okay. And what triggered that?
that was the big transition, and that was in 2000. So 2001,
Okay,
and that trigger was more of what you had pointed out, which was having some amount of social significance, right? So once I had a career, I worked through things. I was in demand. People wanted me to come and work for them and all of that stuff. That was all fun, good stuff. Subsequently, I also did a lot of Ironmans and triathlons, did marathons, did everything, all the personal. So that Maslow's ladder, right? So all of that was
okay.
done. So then I was at
So
this
you
point of
always been very fitness conscious, or was that part of the deal, or is it that as you grew and you spent that it was sedentary, so you felt that you needed
no,
physical activity?
physical activity was always part of my life.
Okay,
Uh,
okay,
I I was playing table tennis at the Tamil Nadu state level.
okay,
Um, I played at district. I played at state.
right,
Um, my contemporaries were Chetan Babur, and so I played at the
okay,
school levels and the college.
okay,
So I did play a lot, and but I think exercise, working out was always part of my DNA, and it got me through college. You know,
right,
because um, it gave me a sense of confidence, something that I was naturally good at, uh,
right,
and it gave me that break whenever I had tough. When I was going through lows, it helped me come out of that. And that just went to another level once I started working, because now I had resources at my disposal. So I could go to different races, I could fly to different places, I could afford these expensive cycles, I could afford the nutrition that was required to sustain
right.
this. So sports was a big thing, and so I had done that sports. But I think coming back to the career part, coming back to India was more about social significance. I wanted to be social.
Okay,
I needed to be. I needed to have some form of a social significance,
okay.
and so coming back to India was really driven by that, uh, and to
Okay.
set up something on my own in India. So I came
So it was
back and
almost like a fresh start, right? Your network, which you had built for 5 years, 7 years, was all in the US.
yeah,
Plus, I think with your racing and your Ironman and all the athletic activities, you would have acquired access to a group of people who would you would normally not meet with. And so,
yeah.
when you came back to India, what was the focus of the network? What did you do in the early bits to build traction? And look at what you should be doing.
Yeah. So first, coming back to India was a reverse cultural shock in part.
Right.
So that was definitely there. That was hard. So the first 2 years were not that straightforward and easy. um, and leveraging my network in the US
Okay.
to uh, get work was there. I think the most important thing that happened coming back to India was to actually find a good business partner
Right.
to with, and so that was something that helped. I knew I was not going to do something solo. I knew I would not be flying solo on the business side. So that was clear to me. I think that was clear to
Okay.
me from very early on in my life that I am not. There are it's very hard to fly solo,
You
and
never
to
looked at getting into a job in India, or with the experience that you had?
yeah, Oracle gave me a job. I just it would have been the same thing, and
Okay.
that was just not going to cut it because I had already been there, done that type of a thing,
So, how
and
did you go about looking for a business partner and then figuring out? Did you move around in certain circles and then built your
so
network?
that is true. I actually visited all the cities. When I
Okay.
came back, I went to all the different cities and met people and I
Okay.
connected a number of people. And along the way, I met a few businessmen and you know uh, some of the people who had come back from the US and were trying to set up something here. So I met them,
Right.
and I met this gentleman in Hyderabad, Joseph Vijayam, and he had come back from LA, and he was setting up something in Hyderabad, and
Okay.
I had some history with Hyderabad growing up. My uncle was there, and so I had seen the city grow, and I was liking how the city was growing,
Right.
uh, and that was perfect for me to actually come into because it was again, you know, catch the wave. I mean, Hyderabad, the wave of technology was just picking up in Hyderabad with the CM, Mr. Naidu doing
Yeah.
all of these,
Right.
amazing things in Hyderabad, bringing in all the companies. That
Right.
it just seemed like an obvious choice because Bangalore was not attractive to me at that time. Chennai was too familiar. Calcutta seemed too crowded.
Okay.
Mumbai was too commercial, too financial. It was already grown up. It was not a
Right.
city I could grow up with. Delhi seemed too political. Uh, so I had to know people in Delhi. But in Hyderabad, it was an open green field, right? I mean,
Okay.
and you had enough opportunity that the government was lending over there. The amount of support we got from the government was fantastic. So that was a no-brainer in that sense. And the person, and Joseph was there, so I said, "Yeah, let's do it." It was not a very hard decision. I had an offer
Okay.
from a couple of companies at that time, but I chose not to turn this.
Get back to a regular job.
Yeah, that would have been the same thing, and I was done with it. So it was a very easy decision to make that if I was coming back to India, then I had to be doing something on my own.
Okay. Okay. And then what transpired? Did you spend a fair amount of time in Hyderabad itself, or did you then start building out a business from Hyderabad?
No, I actually was traveling a lot back and forth. uh, I think our first customer was Hyundai Motors. uh,
Okay.
so we did work for them, and that was the Oracle connection, essentially. But so when did the Korea thing, did a lot of back and forth with Korea at that point of time. Um, and then subsequently, I think one thing led to the other, and then software projects. We were just doing projects, and I
Okay.
was sold on the whole open source thing at that point of time. So I was carrying the open source wave at that point of time. I had I
Okay.
had I had one leg on Oracle, the other leg on open source, and I was just coasting through on those two.
But
Uh,
what were you helping Hyundai do at that point? What was the assignment?
no, they had it was a we were managing their entire supply chain, logistics.
Okay.
back end
Okay.
work. We were setting that up, and we were already doing some data mining, and
Okay.
from their multiple databases, consolidating it into a single
Okay.
source. And so yeah, so that's creating a whole a reporting
And
system.
see, that's the thread that I see, Anirudh, that you walk into a place which is not set either in terms of, you talked of how you evaluated cities, and then you said that Hyderabad is a place which is, undergoing a sense of change, and then you go and get into Hyundai, which is again looking to set up a supply chain. Not You're not getting into something where you're trying to compete with an established order. You're almost as if getting into something where the order has not been defined and you have a chance to define it.
Be part of it. Yeah, part of defining
Yes,
that order.
be a
Yeah,
part of it, which I think is another thing that anyone who's switching should look. Don't try and switch to an established industry where you have to again try and
yeah,
find out what are because there are people who know that industry extremely well. So it
yeah,
won't be easy competing against them. So I
yeah.
guess it's part of the,
Yeah, and it brings you into politics, right? So you have competing ideas, and then you say, oh, okay, this is my
yeah,
perspective, this is your
100%.
perspective. In this case, you are
100%.
actually, you're setting it up yourself, so you're starting from ground up.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that was a lot easier. But in technology, that's always the case, right? I mean,
Right.
if you are on the cutting edge, uh, not the bleeding edge, as long as you're on the
Right.
cutting edge and not on the bleeding edge, you are fine, right?
Yeah.
And so you can make these simple choices. Right now, AI
Right.
is the big thing. I mean, I have a lot of problems. There are lots of things that are going wrong with AI, right?
Right.
But it is on the cutting edge. Um it has now matured to the cutting edge. It's
Right.
it's not in the bleeding side of technology. So you're
Okay.
not
I'll
stuck.
just do a summary of whatever we. So
Yes.
I'm speaking to Anirudh Pandya, and during this time, he spoke of how after getting into the US, he got his first breaks in telecom, which he then built after the association with Oracle, and that was a hot area. So he managed to get experience in a field that was really growing. Meanwhile, his passion for physical sport, which he said was there right from the beginning, uh, kind of evolved into tackling Ironman and cycling and building that network of people. And he has a huge network back in the US. And at some point in 2000, the transition, he decided to come back to India. And then what I found interesting was that he went to several cities in India and then decided on Hyderabad because that was a place where change was happening in a fairly transformative manner. And I guess for anyone who's looking to switch careers, that's one lesson which I keep taking away from what Anirudh has told me so far. Switching is easier when it is a time of ferment because there are a lot of things being defined. In the final segment of this podcast, I'll be speaking to him about how do you make evaluations? What are the skills that you need beyond the skills that you need on the job? What are the additional bits that you should be looking for? So, if you like what you've listened to so far, please subscribe, share, and let more people know. So, Anirudh, back to this. How exactly do you decide that it is time to move or it's time to transition? What is what are some of the things that you have sort of settled upon?
Yeah, I think that's why I was saying that um, the first time I transitioned, um, I transitioned because I was climbing this ladder, Maslow's ladder,
Right,
right? And so that social significance was important. So coming to Hyderabad, because in the US, it's a great place, technology wise, you learn a lot, there's lots of money and all of that stuff. You have lots of
right,
opportunities. But in there are not that many people, and first that's one. So you have a network, you get to meet people, but it is you pay a price in trying to meet
Right.
people. It takes a lot of time. Whereas in India, you open the door and your neighbor is right in front of you. Right? It's not that difficult to meet people in this country.
Right.
So back to Hyderabad, one of the things that I did was I was one of the founding members along with Rajesh with the Hyderabad Runner Society. So we
Okay.
started Hyderabad Runner Society at that point. So besides the company, I was doing this, running. I was doing a lot of races at that point of time, and we started the
Okay.
Hyderabad Runner Society. And subsequently, in 2007, we ended up starting the Hyderabad Marathon, which continues today.
Okay.
And we have over 30,000 participants annually
Right.
uh, for the race. So I did that. And then subsequently, I think from Hyderabad, the transition happened when I sort of caught IT services was on cruise control for me. And when anything gets into a cruise control mode,
Right.
uh, I get restless. So, you know, because then it has become too easy, which
Okay.
means it's a low hanging fruit. And the minute it becomes a low hanging fruit, there are going to be many other people in it.
Okay.
Right. And so 2006 to 2008, 2009, Hyderabad had transformed significantly with the global delivery centers being established in Hyderabad.
Right.
Right. Microsoft came in after that. Then you had the big data center for ICICI, and all of the financial district was being made and everything. So when I started sensing, okay, now there are too many people in that, I became uncomfortable in my comfortable place, right?
Okay.
So for me, that was the sign that, okay, I need to find another green field now. And services at that point of time, I felt was commoditized and was, it was becoming a numbers game. We had grown the company to what, about 200 and 50 people, and it was good. 2006, 2007, we had a big number of people, and we had lots of projects going on. All of that was going on. That's fine. um, but when I started, I think the turning point was when I went as a as a part of a delegation to Bhutan, and Bhutan was
Okay.
setting up a software technology park. That's when I
Okay.
realized this is done. I need to move on. Services industry is gone. Now I need to actually move to something else. And I had communicated that we should do something else. And so I explored some other opportunities in media, the media business. I explored some opportunities while I was there.
Okay.
And at that time, I saw, oh, okay, there's media is good, health channel is good, doing a television channel on health alone was something I thought. But then I saw YouTube was just picking up. So I said, this is just not going to be, let's take our time, let's take a break, let's take our time and then figure out what to do. So I exited from the company, and I took about a year off.
Okay.
I just took a year off. I was trekking and hiking and going all over the place again. I was traveling again. Um, and then I decided on, and then an opportunity came up with working for an insurance company.
Okay.
And that insurance company, I had known the MD for a long time, and he wanted to set up. He wanted to set up another, extend his delivery center. And so I said, okay, fine, I'll get involved with that. And so for about 18 months, I actually took up a job. Um, and
Right.
we set up the team and the delivery center, development center, and and then moved on. But yeah, essentially, I think you have to keep reading the tea leaves. You cannot get complacent with your career.
Right.
That is the lesson I will take, I will leave the audience with, that don't get complacent with your career. Keep reading the tea leaves. Or I had mentioned that book, Who Moved My Cheese. um, keep smelling the cheese whether it's gone bad. uh, right, and then move on to something else. So my career path has always been, as you correctly summarized. um, I've taken on things in the greenfield, area, something in the cutting edge space, and then once the cutting edge gets commoditized, then it is time to move.
Okay. And how important has this whole question of a salary been to you in terms of how you evaluate the next move?
No, I
How
think
do you
that
look
was,
at a salary and
yeah,
what is it that you have found works for you?
yeah. For me, I think financially, I gave you my rule of thumb, and I kept that rule of thumb.
6 months in the
And
bank.
yeah, and
Yeah.
in fact, if you were to ask me, I would say, before you start, and a lot of parents may not like this, but I would say, your first salary, the month you get your first salary, instead of giving that salary to your parents, you should ask your parents to give you 6 months of salary to put in the bank,
Right.
and then you pay it off after 12 months. Uh,
Okay.
but the point is that you've got to, for me, that has worked well, because that is good enough for me to be able to even make investments. Uh, so say, okay, this much in the bank, the rest can be invested, and I can build the corpus. So you work on building the corpus. So finance management is very important. That's how I could take a break for a year without doing anything. The ability to conserve my to conserve my
Okay.
outflows.
Here's another thing, Anirudh. In the US, you worked in telecom. Then you came back to India and you worked in the supply chain. Then you got into insurance. Now, in each one of these, is it that you found a common thread, which was the technology and the implementation?
Yeah.
Or did you have to substantially change your understanding of how the business worked?
No, you have to learn the business. Technology is
Okay,
only a tool, right? So that is only a tool. We know that. So you have to learn the business. You have to put in your time and effort on learning the business. What what the different
right,
policies, the rules of the game are, right? So because I can only build a good product uh, if I know the rules of the game. If I don't know the rules of the game, I cannot build the product, right? So
right.
I had to know the business, and so, but I enjoyed learning these businesses. This was not it was.
So, what is your way of learning a business? How exactly do you go about it? Because in each business, there are certain core principles that operate,
Yeah, no, I read.
or
Uh, I end
right?
up reading a lot. Yeah, I read a lot, and I end up for different things. I mean, and I think with the internet, there is so much information available. I think.
So, give me some instance of, let's say, when you were looking at the supply chain, what were the kind of things that you concentrated on first and then said that, hey, this is how I'm going to build this out?
Hmm. So for me, the first step was is always to interview the customer, right?
Okay,
So spending time with the customer is very important,
right.
and I actually learn most from my customer, and my value additions are peppered, right?
Okay,
But majority of it is based off of the customer. So in the consulting space, I am actually looking at your watch to tell you the time. That is there. But I'm just telling you the time in a nice way. That's about it, right?
right.
But I learned a lot from my customer. Essentially, I think one of the skills that you have to build as a consultant or even as a salesperson is compassion. The ability to listen compassionately to the customer and to be able to see the industry through their eyes. And as we do that, we understand the industry better. So identifying the right person is also important. So I would talk to a number. I think networking, being social, helps a lot,
Right.
as you connect with multiple people across the board. And then you, my knowledge acquisition starts from the person after I
Okay.
have identified the person. So you identify the person, and then the knowledge acquisition starts. You start reading books. So they recommend whatever they want us to read. And so that is how I did it. I did not go into studying the traditional books.
Okay.
I did not take this traditional approach to learning insurance, right? Um, I did not take the, because also remember that the people I was working with were, I mean, the software that I was working with was catered to the American insurance industry. You couldn't find that information or data in India.
Right.
So in the global scenario, you have to figure out ways. Yeah, internet is there now, AI is there. You can get a lot of information online. Um, but really, what what you learn from a person, from the relationship, is far more crucial and important. And that was a lesson we learned in school,
Right.
in high school, because we learn more from our classmates than from our teachers. No,
Yeah.
isn't that true
True.
though? We have
Yeah.
always learned more from our classmates than from our teachers, from our
Yeah.
group study sessions. And that carries even in workplace. So it's not
It doesn't
alien.
change. That
Yeah,
part doesn't change.
this is not alien logic. This is all. This
Right.
is the same. Once you build
Okay.
that, this is you apply here
Then
also.
the rest of it is, yeah. But from what you've just told me, Anirudh, if I can look at whatever you've told me so far, one is that you should be, if you want to switch careers, you should be comfortable with the uncertainty. You
Yes,
can't be someone who wants, a steady job and then say, I still want to switch. The second is that you must be networked into a community that you enjoy being around with, which is, in your case, it was the athletic running
yes,
and physically active community. You can figure out if you like another set of people. You have people who are more into finance, you have more people into some other field. That
music.
is up to you.
No, it can
That's a
music,
music. It's up to you.
music,
Yeah.
art,
But you
dance. I mean,
need a network
yes.
outside of your professional circle.
Absolutely, 100%. Absolutely. I mean, I have met. That
Yeah.
is
No,
absolutely right. I have met more people running and cycling and swimming and doing whatever else, than sitting around in conferences, right?
absolutely. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. And that's a major lesson, because I don't know if people today take the trouble. They think they have online friends and they say, I talk to people across the world. That's sitting in front of a computer and talking, interacting with a screen. The real interaction is with real people in different parts. And what I really liked from what you just told me is how you traveled to multiple cities. You didn't come back to India and then go back to the city you were most comfortable in, which was Chennai. You said Chennai was too well known. So
Yeah,
there is this understanding of, you need to be in a place that I can be challenged, but I also wanted to have a certain vibe which I will then capitalize on.
yeah, yep,
So only then does it work, right?
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. You've got to be comfortable in uncomfortable places.
Right.
And you should be, and that's adventure. I mean, you should seek adventure. you seek adventure, this is you're okay with this. Um,
Yeah.
this may not apply to everyone.
It
Um,
doesn't.
it,
And very
it-
clearly, you have to understand if you are the kind of person who likes to switch. If you
yeah,
don't like switching, don't try it, because it's not as if you have to.
yeah,
But if you're interested in switching, also understand that these are some of the additional skills which are not related to professional skills at all.
yes,
And I think your foundation of saying 6 months, keep that 6 months in the bank.
very important.
Very
Very,
important.
very important. That's very important. Uh,
Okay.
if you've gone
Wonderful.
hungry for over the for one night, you know what that means. So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Great. Anirudh, so it's been wonderful talking to you, and great to have you on the show. So, if there are any concluding remarks, what would you like to say to people who are watching?
Um, I think be adventurous. That's be okay with failure.
Yeah,
It's okay to fail. Nothing,
yeah,
it's not going to turn the world upside down. It's just, it's a
yeah,
stumbling block. So be okay with failure, be adventurous.
right,
Even if you're choosing, a certain career path, and you want to stick to that specialty, then and you want to specialize, be okay with failure. I mean, keep testing your boundaries. It's That's important. I have always done that because I've learned that from sports. But I think
and
it's a very
sports teaches you to fail and handle failure with
right,
grit. Yeah,
right.
that's an amazing thing.
Be okay
Yes.
with it and let it go. I mean, let the
Yeah.
failure go and move to the next thing. I think that's what I would
Right.
leave everyone with.
Wonderful. For
Good.
sure.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.